In a recent essay entitled, and I'm going to read the whole title because it's almost poetry, the title in itself, and it's very long, on how we mistook the map for the territory and re-imprisoned ourselves in our unbearable wrongness of being, of des-etre, Black Studies Toward the Human Project. Sylvia Wynter uses the, the passage from Black Studies to African American Studies to question some of the truisms in the recent history of Black Studies. And one of her chief arguments is with Henry Louis Gates and about his idea of the failure of the Black arts movement. And she asks why, despite some of the limitations associated with the Black arts movement, did these series of moments change the lives of so many people? She writes, what had been the unique the unique dynamic that had enabled the rhetorical energy of the Black nationalist discourse so powerfully to mobilize the sign of Blackness? Similarly, Cheryl Clark, in her recent book on the women poets of the Black arts movement after Mecca, states, though intensely critical of all manners of nationalisms and separatisms, I have a personal investment in writing about Black arts poetry. I was forever transformed by it and have always wanted to make a contribution to the field of Black poetry and Black American writing, both as a poet and as a critic, end quote. According to Clark, the period between 1965 and 1975 saw the publication of over 100 anthologies of Black literature, most of them appearing on small presses and or being self-published. Moreover, approximately 700 volumes of poetry by Black authors, including 200 by women writers, appeared between 1968 and 1976. This explosion of possibility, and I'm taking the term possibility from Angela Jackson's talk, for Black art remains unsurpassed to this day. And it not only changed the United States literary landscape forever, but it also realigned the structures of the publishing industry significantly, as we heard in Carolyn Rodgers' presentation, creating the possible openings without which the success of Black popular literature in the last 2 decades would not have been possible. It seems that after a long period of disavowal, where the Black arts movement and Black nationalism functioned as the historical, cultural, and political primitive against which a certain strand of Black studies could define itself as the more progressive, open, and less essentialist successor, things seem to be changing. Besides this symposium and the work of Clark and Wynter, the last several years has seen perhaps not an explosion in writings about the Black arts movement, but some significant publications, such as New Thoughts on the Black Arts Movement, Fred Moten's In the Break, which reevaluates Baraka's sexual politics, and Smet-Hurt's The Black Arts Movement, and also the republication of Black Fire this year. There's for a long time a new edition of Black Fire, which is the landmark anthology of the Black Arts Movement. All of these publications signal a new possibility, a word that Angela Jackson relates to Hoyt Fuller, for thinking about imagining, conceptualizing the Black arts movement as one of the most important periods in the history of Black literature and culture, and not as the embarrassing country cousin it has often been thought of since the 1960s. Clark, for instance, does not merely chide the Black arts movement for its heterosexist masculinism, as occurs so frequently, but rather focuses on female poets in order to rewrite the history of the movement to include writers like Ntozake Shange and Audre Lorde. And Audre Lorde's, I think, third and fourth volume of poetry were published by Detroit's Broadside Press. And to make the achievements of the Black arts movement usable for our contemporary moment. And I hope that the participants will forgive me for playing around a little bit with their words in this last part. In the end, it is perhaps more fruitful to think about the Black arts movement not as a historically bounded phenomenon that ended in the 1970s, but to quote Ed Roberson, as the family of instants born to a happening, which are still very much with us today. for the offspring of the happening that was, is, and will remain the Black arts movement, allow us, in the words of Sterling Plumpp, to see the need to unpress oppression, to release new values. Given the dire situation of our world, we need these new values now more than ever. Or in the words of Carolyn Rodgers, and I quote, I looks at it this way, my man. The revolution ain't dead, it's tired and just resting, end quote. The family of instants that comprise the audacity, my other favorite word in Angela Jackson's presentation, of the Black arts movement are there to remind us that waking up the revolution from its long slumber might be possible. Thank you. And thank you all for your attention.